Chapter 1. Contract Marriage. The wedding hall looked like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above hundreds of guests. White roses decorated every table. Cameras flashed endlessly, but the bride and groom standing on the stage looked nothing like a romantic couple. Lina more smiled brightly at the guests while secretly thinking, 3 years of marriage, and I'll be rich enough to retire. Beside her stood Adrian Blake, the cold CEO of Blake Group. Tall, handsome, and completely expressionless. To the outside world, this was a perfect marriage. In reality, it was nothing more than a business contract. Later that night, in the enormous Blake mansion, the newlyweds entered the master bedroom. Lina sat comfortably on the sofa, kicked off her heels, and sighed. Finally, my feet are dying. Adrian removed his jacket and calmly sat across from her. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Lina spoke first. So, should we talk about the rules? Adrian nodded. Yes. Lina raised one finger. Rule number 1. This is a business marriage. Second finger. Rule number 2. No love. Third finger. Rule number 3. No touching. Adrian stared at her for a moment before asking calmly. And rule number 4? Lina smiled brightly. I get the money. Adrian almost laughed. Instead, he simply said, agreed. Then he added quietly, I'm saving myself for someone else. Lina waved her hand casually. Perfect. I'm saving myself for your bank account. For the first time that night, Adrian actually smiled. Chapter 2. Separate bedrooms. The next morning the mansion staff were shocked. Instead of sharing a bedroom, the couple prepared 2 separate rooms. Lina personally supervised the servants. This room will be mine. Move all the pink furniture here. Adrian passed by and raised an eyebrow. You like pink? I like expensive things, Lina replied. Life inside the mansion soon settled into a strange routine. They ate breakfast together politely. Then Adrian left for work, and Lina began her favorite activity, spending money. Shopping bags arrived almost every day. Clothes, shoes, perfume, jewelry. The housekeeper once asked nervously, Madam, aren't you worried the chairman will be angry? Lina laughed. He married me knowing exactly what I am. Then she bit into a macaroon happily. A professional spender. Chapter 3. The Honest Wife. One evening Adrian returned home earlier than usual. He walked into the living room and froze. The sofa was buried under piles of shopping bags. Lina sat in the middle like a queen. Adrian looked at the mountain of luxury brands. Did a department store explode here? Lina didn't even look guilty. She calmly sipped her tea. Technically, yes. Adrian sat across from her. You don't pretend to be a loving wife at all. Lina shrugged. What's the point? Then she looked him directly in the eyes and said honestly, I don't love you. Adrian remained silent. Lina continued cheerfully. I love your bank account. There was no shame in her voice. No guilt. Just pure honesty. Adrian stared at her for a long moment. Then he unexpectedly said, Good. Lina blinked. Good. Yes. He leaned back calmly. I prefer honesty over fake love. Lina suddenly realized something. This marriage might actually be comfortable. Chapter 4. The psycho friend appears. A week later, Adrian brought a guest home. Victor Kane. Lina looked up from her dessert. Standing in the doorway was a tall man with sharp eyes and a dangerous smile. Victor Kane, Adrian's best friend. Victor extended his hand. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Blake. Lina shook his hand casually, but the moment their hands touched, Victor froze. For 2 full seconds he didn't move. Lina raised an eyebrow. You okay? Victor suddenly smiled. Yes, but inside his head something terrifying had happened. I'm in love. Chapter 5. Victor's Secret. That same night Victor cornered Adrian in the study. You still love Emily, right? Adrian nodded. Yes. Victor crossed his arms. Then stay loyal to her. Adrian frowned. What do you mean? Victor replied calmly. Don't touch your wife. Adrian looked confused. This marriage is already a contract. Victor nodded slowly. Good. Then he added in his mind. Because she's mine. Chapter 6. Lina's Luxury Life. Meanwhile, Lina lived her best life. Spa in the morning. Shopping in the afternoon. Dessert in the evening. One day Victor accidentally witnessed her eating cake in the garden. 3 slices. Then 4. Then 5. Victor stared in disbelief. How are you still thin? Lina shrugged. Talent. Victor couldn't stop smiling. Everything she did seemed adorable to him. Even when she greedily ordered expensive desserts. Especially when she did that. Chapter 7. The Strange Friendship. Soon Victor began visiting the mansion more often. Too often, sometimes 3 times a week. Adrian eventually noticed. "You're here a lot." Victor shrugged casually. "I like the food." But the truth was obvious. He came to see Lina. They started having strange conversations. "Why did you marry Adrian?" Victor asked one day. Lina answered honestly. "Money." Victor laughed. "I like honest women." Lina pointed at him suspiciously. "You're weird." Victor grinned. "Very." Chapter 8. 3 years later. 3 years passed peacefully. Adrian and Lina remained exactly the same. Roommates, business partners, nothing more. No romance, no jealousy, no touching, just a comfortable agreement. But something had changed. Victor Kane. For 3 years, he watched Lina laugh, shop, complain, and eat desserts, and his feelings only grew stronger. One night, he looked at her from across the dining table. She was arguing with a waiter about cake flavors. Victor smiled quietly. Soon, because he knew something Adrian didn't, Emily Hart, Adrian's first love, was finally coming back. And when she returned, this marriage would end, and Lina would become free. Chapter 9. The accident news. 3 years of peaceful contract marriage passed quietly. One evening, Adrian returned home looking unusually serious. Lina noticed immediately. She was lying on the sofa eating strawberry cake. "Why do you look like someone stole your company?" she asked. Adrian loosened his tie slowly. "My first love, Emily." Lina immediately sat up. "Oh, what about her?" Adrian's voice became softer. "She had a car accident." Lina blinked. "That sounds bad." Adrian continued. "She's paralyzed, both legs." The room fell silent. For the first time since their marriage, Lina felt a tiny bit uncomfortable. Not sad, just awkward. Then Adrian added, "She's coming back to the country for treatment." Lina slowly put down her fork. Inside her mind, one sentence appeared: "Divorce is coming." And strangely, she felt excited. Chapter 10. Divorce request. 2 days later, Adrian called Lina into his study. She already knew what was coming. He sat behind his desk looking unusually tense. "Lina!" She waved her hand casually. "You want a divorce, right?" Adrian froze. "You already know." Lina leaned comfortably against the chair. "Your first love returns. Your fake wife disappears." She shrugged. "Classic story." Adrian watched her carefully. "You're not angry?" Lina laughed. "Why would I be angry?" Then she smiled brightly. "I'm finally free." Adrian felt something strange in his chest. He expected drama, tears, maybe shouting. But Lina only looked happy. Chapter 11. The happiest divorce. The lawyer placed the divorce papers on the table. Lina read the financial settlement carefully. Then her eyes widened. "That's a lot of money." Adrian nodded. "It's fair." Lina grabbed the pen immediately. "Say no more." She signed the papers with the speed of a professional gambler. The lawyer looked shocked. Miss Moore, are you sure?" Lina happily pushed the documents back. "I've never been more sure in my life." Adrian suddenly felt uncomfortable. For some reason, he didn't like how easy this was. Chapter 12. Divorce party. That night, Lina held a divorce celebration party. Her best friend stared at the banner in the apartment. "Congratulations on my divorce." "You're insane," her friend said. Lina lifted a glass of champagne proudly. No husband, no responsibilities, and a giant divorce settlement. She laughed happily. "This is the best day of my life." Across the city, someone else was also celebrating. Victor Kane, but for a completely different reason. Chapter 13. Victor's opportunity. Victor sat alone in his penthouse, holding a glass of whiskey. His assistant looked confused. "Sir, you look happy." Victor smiled slowly. "Adrian got divorced today." The assistant blinked. "Isn't that bad?" Victor shook his head. "No." Then he said something terrifying. "It's perfect." For 3 years he had waited, watched, controlled himself. But now Lina Moore was finally single. Victor leaned back in his chair and whispered quietly. Game begins. Chapter 14. Adrian feels strange. Meanwhile, Adrian walked into the mansion. The house felt strangely empty. No shopping bags, no desserts on the table, no Lina complaining about expensive coffee. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Adrian frowned. For 3 years, Lina filled the mansion with noise. Now the silence felt uncomfortable. He suddenly realized something shocking. He was used to her. Chapter 15. Emily returns. The airport was crowded. Adrian stood near the entrance, waiting nervously. Soon a wheelchair appeared, pushed by a nurse. Emily's heart looked pale but still beautiful. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw Adrian. Adrian! He immediately walked toward her. I'm here. Emily grabbed his hand tightly. I thought I would never see you again. Adrian felt guilty. He had waited 3 years for her return. But strangely, a small part of his mind remembered someone else. A woman eating cake on the sofa. Chapter 16, Lina's New Life. Meanwhile, Lina moved into her brand new luxury apartment. Huge windows, beautiful city view, expensive furniture. She dropped onto the couch happily. Freedom! Her phone suddenly rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. A familiar male voice replied. Miss Moore. Lina froze. Victor Kane. She frowned. How did you get my number? Victor laughed softly. I'm a billionaire. Then he said calmly. Let's go on a date. Lina blinked. Excuse me. Victor repeated casually. A date. Lina stared at the phone like it had insulted her. Then she laughed. You're crazy. Victor replied instantly. Yes. Then he added something even more shocking. I've been waiting 3 years. Chapter 17, The Unexpected Visitor. The next evening, Lina was peacefully enjoying her favorite chocolate cake in her new apartment. Her new life was perfect. No husband, no rules, only money and freedom. Then the doorbell rang. Lina frowned. I didn't order food. She opened the door. Victor Kane stood outside holding a bouquet of roses. Lina stared at him in disbelief. You found my address too? Victor smiled calmly. I told you. Billionaire. Lina crossed her arms. What do you want? Victor stepped inside like he owned the place. You promised me a date. I absolutely did not. Victor sat on the sofa casually. I interpreted your silence as agreement. Lina pointed at the door. You're insane. Victor grinned. I've heard that before. Chapter 18, A Dangerous Confession. Victor watched Lina eating cake like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. Finally he spoke. Do you know when I started liking you? Lina didn't even look up. Hopefully yesterday. Victor shook his head. 3 years ago. Now Lina paused. What? The day I met you. Lina laughed loudly. You met me for 10 seconds. Victor nodded. Enough time. Lina stared at him suspiciously. You're joking. Victor leaned closer and whispered calmly. I'm completely serious. For the first time since meeting him, Lina felt slightly nervous. Chapter 19, The Terrifying Truth. Victor looked completely relaxed. But the words he said next were shocking. I made sure Adrian never touched you. Lina blinked slowly. What? Victor crossed his legs calmly. I reminded him constantly about his first love. Lina's mouth opened. You sabotaged my marriage. Victor nodded without shame. Yes. Lina stared at him like he had just confessed to a crime. Why? Victor answered like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Because you belong with me. The room became silent. Then Lina suddenly burst into laughter. Victor frowned. You're laughing. Lina wiped tears from her eyes. You're actually crazy. Victor shrugged. I never said I wasn't. Chapter 20, Lina's reaction. Most women would be angry. Some might be scared. But Lina Moore was different. She looked at Victor thoughtfully. So you waited 3 years? Victor nodded. Yes. Just watching me spend money? Yes. Eat desserts? Yes. Sleep all day? Yes. Lina shook her head. That's incredibly creepy. Victor smiled softly. But you're still talking to me. Lina stared at him for a moment. Then she sighed dramatically. Fine. Victor raised an eyebrow. Fine. Lina stood up and grabbed her bag. I'll go on one date. Victor's eyes lit up. But, Lina continued, pointing a finger at him, if you act weird, I'm leaving. Victor smiled slowly. Too late. Chapter 21, The Chaotic Date. Victor took Lina to the most expensive restaurant in the city. The staff treated them like royalty. Lina looked at the menu and gasped. Wow, this place is expensive. Victor nodded. Order anything. Lina immediately ordered half the menu. Victor watched her eat happily. You're not even pretending to be elegant. Lina shrugged. Why pretend? Victor laughed. For the first time in years, he felt genuinely happy. Chapter 22, Adrian's Discovery. Meanwhile, Adrian accidentally saw something shocking. While driving home from work, he noticed Lina, laughing, sitting in a restaurant. With Victor, Adrian slowed the car. Confusion filled his mind. Victor, his best friend, and his ex-wife, why were they together? And why did that bother him so much? Chapter 23, A Very Possessive Man. The dinner date ended surprisingly well. Lina walked out of the restaurant holding her purse and looking satisfied. That was a good meal, she said. Victor smiled. I'm glad you liked it. They walked toward the parking lot. Suddenly a man approached Lina. He looked like one of the restaurant guests. Excuse me, miss, the stranger said politely. Can I get your number? Lina blinked in surprise. Before she could even answer, Victor stepped forward, his hand gently but firmly wrapped around Lina's waist. The atmosphere instantly became cold. She's not interested. His voice sounded calm, but his eyes were dangerous. The stranger awkwardly stepped back. Oh, sorry. He quickly walked away. Lina slowly looked up at Victor. Did you just scare him away? Victor looked down at her. Yes. Lina frowned. I could have rejected him myself. Victor tilted his head. I know. Then why did you interfere? Victor answered simply. Because I don't like other men looking at you. Lina stared at him. You're very possessive. Victor smiled slightly. Extremely. Chapter 24. Lina's teasing. Instead of being angry, Lina suddenly grinned. Oh, really? Victor narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Lina pointed toward another man walking nearby. He's handsome. Victor's expression immediately darkened. Lina continued teasing him. I think he looked at me. Victor slowly turned his head toward the poor man. The stranger instantly looked away and walked faster. Lina burst into laughter. You're unbelievable. Victor sighed. You're enjoying this. Of course I am. She folded her arms smugly. Watching you get jealous is entertaining. Victor leaned closer to her. You shouldn't play with fire. Lina raised an eyebrow. Why? Victor whispered softly near her ear. Because I'm not a very patient man. For a brief moment, Lina's heart skipped. Chapter 25. Adrian's confusion. Across the street, Adrian sat inside his car. He had watched the entire scene. Victor holding Lina's waist. Lina laughing. The strange feeling inside Adrian grew stronger. He suddenly realized something uncomfortable. He had never seen Lina laugh like that with him. Not even once in 3 years. Adrian clenched the steering wheel. Why does this bother me? Chapter 26. Victor's warning. Victor drove Lina back to her apartment. When they arrived, Lina opened the car door. But Victor grabbed her wrist gently. Wait! She turned back. What? Victor looked directly into her eyes. Don't go on dates with other men. Lina blinked. We're not even a couple. Victor smiled calmly. Yet. That's not an answer. Victor leaned back in his seat. I waited 3 years. Then his voice softened slightly. I'm not sharing you now. Lina stared at him silently. For the first time, she realized something important. Victor Kane wasn't joking. His feelings were real. And possibly a little dangerous. Chapter 27. A new routine. After that night, Victor began appearing everywhere. Morning coffee shop, shopping mall, gym entrance, even Lina's favorite dessert cafe. One day she finally exploded. Are you following me? Victor calmly drank his coffee. No. Then why are you always here? Victor shrugged. Coincidence. Lina stared at him. You're lying. Victor smiled. Obviously. Lina sighed. You're impossible. Victor leaned forward slightly. But you're smiling. Lina froze. She quickly turned away. Shut up. Chapter 28. Adrian learns the truth. Later that night, Adrian visited Victor. But the conversation quickly became tense. Are you dating Lina? Adrian asked. Victor looked calm. Yes. Adrian frowned. You never told me you liked her. Victor laughed quietly. That's because you were married to her. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Victor then said something shocking. I told you to stay loyal to Emily, remember? Adrian froze. Realization slowly spread across his face. You! Victor smiled. I protected what belonged to me. Adrian slammed his hand on the table. You manipulated me. Victor stood up calmly. Yes. Then he added without guilt. And I'd do it again. Chapter 29. The uncomfortable truth. Adrian left Victor's penthouse late at night. His mind was a mess. Victor's words echoed in his head. I protected what belonged to me. Adrian clenched his fists. For 3 years, he believed he was doing the right thing, staying loyal to Emily, respecting his past love. But now, he realized someone had been quietly influencing him the entire time. Victor, his best friend. Adrian got into his car but didn't start the engine. Instead, he stared blankly through the windshield. Then a sudden memory appeared in his mind. Lina sitting on the sofa, eating cake, laughing loudly, calling him walking bank account. He had always found her annoying. But now, the mansion felt empty without her. Chapter 30. A very different Emily. Meanwhile, Emily was staying at Adrian's mansion. At first everything seemed perfect. Adrian helped her with therapy. He carried her wheelchair. He took care of her patiently. But slowly something began to feel different. Emily had changed. One evening, she frowned while looking at Adrian's phone. "Why are you still talking to your ex-wife's lawyer?" Adrian replied calmly. "Divorce procedures." Emily looked unhappy. "You shouldn't have married her in the first place." Adrian said nothing. Emily continued. "Women like her only care about money." For some reason those words irritated him. Adrian suddenly replied. "She was honest about it." Emily looked surprised. "You're defending her?" Adrian realized something uncomfortable. Yes, he was. Chapter 31. The Restaurant Encounter. A few days later, Adrian entered a restaurant for a business meeting. But he suddenly stopped walking. At the corner table, Lina sat laughing. Across from her sat Victor. Victor leaned closer and whispered something in her ear. Lina's face turned slightly red. Adrian's chest tightened. He watched silently from a distance. Then something happened that shocked him. Victor casually placed his hand on Lina's shoulder. Lina didn't push him away. Instead, she simply rolled her eyes and continued eating. They looked comfortable, natural, like a real couple. Adrian suddenly lost his appetite. Chapter 32. The First Jealousy. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He kept remembering the restaurant scene. Victor smiling, Lina laughing, Victor touching her shoulder. The more he thought about it, the more irritated he became. Finally, Adrian muttered something to himself. This is ridiculous. He had divorced Lina willingly. He had chosen Emily. So why did seeing Lina with Victor make him feel angry? Then another thought appeared in his mind. Lina never laughed like that with me. The realization was unpleasant. Very unpleasant. Chapter 33. Victor's possessive side. Meanwhile, Victor walked Lina home after dinner. She stopped in front of her apartment building. "You don't have to escort me every time," Lina said. Victor replied calmly. "I know. Then why do you?" Victor looked at her seriously. "Because I like knowing you got home safely." Lina folded her arms. Victor smiled slightly. "Not yet." Then he leaned closer and whispered, "But soon." Lina's cheeks turned slightly pink. She quickly turned around. "Good night, psycho." Victor watched her enter the building. Then he murmured quietly to himself, "I'm getting closer." Chapter 34. Adrian's realization. The next day, Adrian visited a cafe. By coincidence, it was the same dessert cafe Lina used to love. He sat quietly and ordered coffee. Then he noticed something strange. The waiter asked him, "Sir, where is your wife today?" Adrian froze. The waiter smiled. "She always ordered strawberry cake here." Adrian looked at the empty chair across from him. For the first time, he admitted something painful. He missed her, not as a wife, but as the strange, greedy, honest woman who made his quiet life chaotic. Adrian sighed softly. "Maybe I made a mistake." Chapter 35. Adrian's bold decision. Adrian rarely acted impulsively, but today he did. He stood outside Lina's apartment building holding a small box of her favorite strawberry cakes. He felt ridiculous. Why am I doing this? But he knew the answer. Because he missed her. When Lina finally came out of the building, she froze. "Adrian!" Adrian cleared his throat. "I brought you cake." Lina blinked. "You used to complain when I ate too much dessert." Adrian replied quietly, "I was wrong." Lina stared at him suspiciously. "What do you want?" Adrian hesitated. Then he said the shocking words, "I want to try again." Chapter 36. The proposal to start over. Lina looked completely confused. "Try again what?" "Our relationship." Lina burst out laughing. "You divorced me." "I know. And now you want me back?" Adrian nodded. "Yes." Lina shook her head in disbelief. "You're unbelievable." But before Adrian could reply, a familiar cold voice appeared behind them. "She's not interested." Victor Kane stepped forward slowly. His expression was dangerously calm, but his eyes were burning with jealousy. Chapter 37. Victor's jealous rage. Victor looked between them, Adrian holding cake, Lina standing beside him. The scene made Victor extremely irritated. "You're bothering my girl," Victor said calmly. Adrian frowned. "She's not your girl." Victor smirked. "She will be." Adrian crossed his arms. "This is between me and Lina." Victor suddenly stepped closer. "Your chance ended when you divorced her." The air between them turned tense. Lina quickly stepped between the two men. "Stop!" She looked annoyed. "You're both acting ridiculous." Victor immediately softened his tone. "I'm not ridiculous." Then he added quietly, "I'm protective." Lina rolled her eyes. "You're possessive." Victor smiled. Same thing. Chapter 38. Adrian's last attempt. Adrian ignored Victor completely. Instead, he looked directly at Lina. I know our marriage was strange, but I realized something. Lina crossed her arms. What? Adrian spoke honestly. You made my life interesting. Lina stared at him silently. For 3 years, they had lived together like strangers, but somehow, they had still influenced each other. Adrian continued, I want to start over. Properly this time. Victor's jaw tightened. He hated hearing this. Chapter 39. Victor loses his patience. Victor suddenly grabbed Lina's hand. The action shocked both of them. Enough! His voice was no longer calm. For the first time, his obsessive side appeared clearly. I waited 3 years. His eyes locked on Lina. I watched you every day. I protected you. I stopped him from touching you. Adrian looked furious, but Victor didn't care. He continued, and now he thinks he can come back and take you again? Victor shook his head slowly. No. Then he looked directly at Lina. I'm not giving you up. The intensity in his voice made Lina's heart beat faster. Chapter 40. Lina's choice. The street became silent. 2 powerful men waited for her answer. Adrian looked hopeful. Victor looked dangerously serious. Lina sighed dramatically. You two are exhausting. She turned toward Adrian. You're not a bad man. Adrian's eyes brightened. But then Lina continued. Just too late. Adrian's expression slowly fell. Then she turned toward Victor. You're insane. Victor nodded proudly. I know. Lina looked at him carefully. You're jealous. Possessive, manipulative. Victor waited nervously. Then Lina smiled slightly. But at least you never pretended. Victor froze. Lina continued. And honestly, she grabbed his arm. You're entertaining. Victor's face lit up. Adrian sighed quietly. And just like that, the battle ended. Victor Kane had finally won. Epilogue. Dad's very suspicious love story. Several years later, the Kane mansion was loud. Very loud. 2 small children were running across the living room, while Lina sat on the sofa eating strawberry cake like always. Some habits never changed. Victor entered the room, carrying a stack of documents, but immediately stopped. Why are you feeding them cake again? Lina shrugged. They're your children. They inherited your chaotic energy. Victor sighed dramatically. Before he could say anything, their daughter climbed onto the sofa. Dad! Victor looked down. Yes. Mom said you were obsessed with her before you got married. Lina nearly choked on her cake. Victor slowly turned toward his wife. You told them that? Lina smiled innocently. I only told the truth. The children immediately became excited. Tell us the love story. Victor sat down between them with a calm expression. Fine. Lina crossed her arms. This should be interesting. Victor began his story confidently. Once upon a time, your father met the most beautiful woman in the world. Lina snorted loudly. Already lying. Victor ignored her. She was clever, funny, and very greedy. The kids giggled. Mom! Victor continued proudly. But there was a problem. What problem? The children asked. She married my best friend. The children gasped dramatically. Lina rolled her eyes. You make it sound like a crime. Victor smiled slowly. So I patiently waited. How long? His son asked. 3 years. The children looked shocked. You waited 3 years. Victor nodded proudly. Yes. Then Lina interrupted. Tell them the real story. Victor frowned. What real story? Lina leaned forward with a mischievous smile. You manipulated Adrian and told him to stay loyal to his first love. The children's eyes widened. Dad! Victor coughed awkwardly. That was strategic planning. Lina laughed. You sabotaged a marriage. Victor defended himself immediately. It was a contract marriage. Their daughter looked impressed. Dad is scary. Victor smiled proudly. Your father is very determined.
At Baicheng University, everyone envied Li Yuhan and Gu Chen. They were the perfect couple.
Then the little boy asked the most important question. So how did you make Mom fall in love? Victor looked at Lina. For once, he became slightly softer. I didn't make her. Lina raised an eyebrow. Oh. Victor gently took her hand. I just stayed beside her until she chose me. For a moment the room became quiet. Then Lina ruined the romantic moment immediately. Actually, I chose you because you were rich. The children burst into laughter. Victor sighed. You're destroying my story. Lina kissed his cheek playfully. Truth is better. Victor wrapped his arm around her waist possessively. Then he looked at the children and said seriously. So remember one thing. What? If you fall in love. The kids leaned closer. Victor smiled slowly. Be patient. Then he added proudly, and if necessary, sabotage your competition. Lina smacked his arm. Do not teach them that. The children laughed loudly. And Victor Kane simply smiled, because after all those years, the crazy love story was still his favorite victory.